Welcome to another edition of Minot Matters here at the Dakota, and brought to you by Shock Safe and Lock. I'm Jonathan Starr. Today, I am joined by a very special guest with the Chamber EDC, Brekka Kramer. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You have a very loose job, pretty neat, just president of the Chamber EDC, don't have a busy schedule or anything like that.
No.
It's incredible the stuff that you guys have going on. You follow you guys on Facebook. There's stuff going on almost every day. You guys are traveling all over the state, everything. Obviously, you joined in May of 2022, relatively recently. Has it been everything that you thought it would be and more? What has it been like?
It's been an amazing experience. It really has allowed me the opportunity to work with the community of Minot. And I grew up here. I was born in this area. I grew up in Minot High grad, Minot State graduate. This is home to me.
Right.
So it's been a real fun change after 21 years, or almost 21 years in the private sector, to shift over to the Chamber EDC and focus efforts on the community I grew up in and loved.
Right. Well, was that the allure? Obviously, that's a huge decision that you're making. When you've been in private sector for that long, what was the reason that you made that decision? And not to get personal, I'm sure there's a lot of personal reasons too, but making that decision to go to the chamber specifically, that's a big decision.
It is a big decision. I was one of the partners and owners of an advertising, communications, governmental affairs relations company, and have been with the entity for almost 21 years.
Right.
And frankly, it was my 26-year-old that said, "Mom, why wouldn't you make your volunteer gig your day job and leave your day job?"
Yeah.
And it was at a pivotal time where the agency was coming off of 2 amazing years, but really intense years. And I looked long term as far as an opportunity, and she was right. Everything I was volunteering for was involved somehow with the Chamber or Economic Development Corporation. I had chaired the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I was on that board for almost a decade. I was the chair during the flood of 2011. So a very pivotal time in our community, really supporting businesses, saw what the Chamber can do for the community. Then had shifted over, and I was the chair of the Minot Area Development Corporation in 2019, which is when we started to look at the makeup of the organization and started the process of merging the Chamber of Commerce and the Minot Area Development Corporation. So from a volunteer standpoint, had been in leadership roles and serving both organizations in different ways.
Yeah.
We were working on a lot of different things, and at the end of the day, it really was a time to shift gears and make my volunteer gig my day job. I love the agency world, love the people I worked with. The clients meant everything to me, but it was just kind of right time, right place, and I really enjoyed it.
It's interesting to see the smooth transition that seems to happen between, I'll pick on Odney and Minot Chamber EDC, but also Mark Lyman had that background, and obviously he went somewhere else before he went to the chamber. But it's interesting to see how certain things that you don't necessarily think of as being channels in the job world, they actually work very well together. And obviously Mark does a great job. Have had him on the podcast before. So let's talk about the chamber. I mentioned to you before we went live, I was talking with somebody about this interview, and they're like, yeah, that'll be an interesting one because, the chamber is where all the deals get done in the smoke-filled rooms and all that. And there's that perception. I think there's just that general perception in mine of there's a lot of smoke-filled rooms where everything happens and the public just randomly hears about it. And we're doing a job of breaking down that stigma. What is the role of the chamber?
So the Minot Area Chamber EDC is really focused on being that go-to organization for the business community and the community as a whole to kind of help facilitate those quality of life, the initiatives that matter, and drive our business economy. At the end of the day, we wear a lot of different hats, and we're focused really on kind of 5 key pillars. Okay. And everything we do does fall under those 5. Mm-hmm. I had the unique privilege of starting the strategic plan for the Chamber EDC before jumping into the role. So I was serving on the board and working in that capacity. And what we started to look at is really what is the role that we envision the Chamber EDC playing. We had an amazing board of directors, and we still do today. It's some of the strongest business leaders that I look to as friends, mentors in the community serve on our board. When we set out to set the pillars, we really looked at where are our areas of focus. So we focus on member investors, which is almost your typical kind of Chamber of Commerce role, serving the business community. And I can talk about each of them a little bit further, but I'll just cover them high level. Then we have economic development. We have community development, which focuses more on that partnership quality of life component. We have workforce development, which is relatively new. We added that position about 1.5 years ago, knowing that that's a major challenge, not only for the Minot area, but for the state, and frankly, nationally, people are tackling that. So we knew it was an area we had to focus in on. And then military support is our 5th pillar.
Gotcha. So some of those are very unique to Minot, such as military support. That's not something you get to go and look at all the guidelines of what a chamber EDC role is supposed to be and get to follow that. You guys are creating a new wave there. That has to be very interesting.
Well, we spend a lot of time in that. We actually spend a lot of time in all 5 pillars.
Right.
What's great too about our team is we have different team members focus in leading each of those pillars. Military support is a very unique one. From a member investor standpoint, we have programming like the Right Start program that is a requirement of the Air Force, where we welcome first-time airmen to the community. We lead off the conversation and welcome them on behalf of the community and talk about all the great things, not only in our area and our state. We have programs like an Adopt an Airman, which is really kind of welcoming in people and matching an airman with families. We facilitate that program. We have our Military Affairs Committee, which is a committee of community leaders that get involved and meet with Minot Air Force Base leadership on a monthly basis downtown, which we consider Minot area. And then at Minot Air Force Base every other month, we have that meeting and just have that connection and talk about things that matter to the community and get reports from the community side and also military leadership. We have an honorary commanders program, which is phenomenal. For example, we pair up key community leaders with the commanders and leaders at Minot Air Force Base. So the mayor of Minot serves as the honorary commander to the 5th Bomb Wing commander.
Okay.
And our board chair serves as the honorary commander to the Missile Wing commander. And
Very
that's
good.
a historical thing that has always been in place. And then from there, we pair up community leaders with individuals that really kind of align with Minot Air Force Base leadership. Then on another level, we have our Task Force 21, which is really the advocacy arm. We work hard to advocate and educate at a local, regional, state, and national level.
Wow.
So we play a really unique role in educating and advocating for the missions of Minot Air Force Base, and we do it in a couple of really big ways. Minot Air Force Base, the economic impact is over $600 million a year.
That's incredible.
And not only that, but it's the people. These are our friends. They become like family. They're individuals that we welcome into our community. It brings a great diversity, and it is really something that I say it over and over, but Minot isn't Minot without Minot Air Force Base. We really aren't. And I think that one part, too, that we've been focused on the education side is there's only one base nationally, globally, that has 2 legs of the nuclear triad. It really is the bedrock of strategic deterrence and protecting the world. And so I think sometimes we forget what's in our own backyard.
Right.
So we've been really working hard to educate on the important role that Minot and North Dakota plays in nuclear deterrence. And that's a term 10 years ago. I've been a member of Task Force 21 well before jumping into this position. We've always taken it serious, but if you brought up nuclear deterrence a decade ago, no one knew what that was.
Right.
In today's world, with our adversaries and the adversaries like Russia and China, it's something that really matters, and people are paying attention. We just rolled off of this year hosting our first North Dakota Nuclear Triad Symposium, which filled up, and we had to shut down registration. We had leadership from all over the state, even individuals from Washington, D.C. to fly in to be a part of that. And in a couple of weeks, we'll be out in Washington, D.C. hosting our 13th annual Nuclear Triad Symposium. Secretary of the Air Force, Kendall, Frank Kendall, will actually be kicking off our event.
Wow.
And so we have an all-star lineup of experts, Navy, Air Force, experts on Russia, China. It's a pretty phenomenal program, and we do that every year in Washington, D.C., another very unique role that a chamber EDC plays. And so we really work hard on the military side, but we frankly work hard on all 5 of the pillars.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of right there just kind of dissuades the idea that there's smoke-filled rooms going on and stuff like that. There's a lot of activity in the community that's going on and trying to build up some key connections and relationships. Task Force 21, that's something that I had on my list. We've heard about it, and you kind of mentioned it, is the advocacy. Break down where it came from and kind of the main purpose of it. And you already mentioned some of the events are held. We had the Triad Symposium that was here earlier this year. Remember that was a neat event. I was not able to attend, but it was Kelly Armstrong, I believe, was there. There was a lot of local big names, and then, as you mentioned, national big names, and then the one going on in Washington, D.C. I know that the mayor's been out there several times for that as well. So break down Task Force 21, if you would.
So Task Force 21 started in the 90s as really an effort they're called base realignment programming. And really what that does is the Air Force Department of Defense at times will look at realigning bases and missions. And we're always at risk of losing the mission of Minot Air Force Base.
Okay.
It's something that we work hard to protect. Now, granted, we have a very strategic role.
Right.
So we're very fortunate in that, but we have weapon systems that need to be modernized. We have the current missile system, the Minuteman III, that's going to be replaced with Sentinel, which is a mega project. It's the largest Department of Defense project that's ever been undertaken.
Wow.
We are working through making sure we have the correct relationships, understand what the impacts are for the community and what that means. And on top of it, we have the B-52 that is being modernized as well. And so as we work with Task Force 21, going back to kind of that start, it really formed in an effort to ensure that Minot didn't end up on the BRAC list, is what they call it.
Okay.
And at the time, we were at risk. Back in the day, it was a member of just citizens and volunteers that were really working hard to make sure to make connections with the right individuals to protect Minot Air Force Base. We've seen Grand Forks, for example, used to have missiles. They don't anymore. We're one of 3 bases that do. We're one of only 2 bases that has the B-52 mission. So part of our work is proactively making sure that we have the right relationships and we work hard to build those. We're very fortunate to have 2 individuals, myself and Pete Hankla, who serve on Task Force 21 on the Governor's North Dakota Military Commission. So on a statewide basis, we're working on a regular basis to what compacts do we need to be a part of? Do we have to tackle licensure issues and reciprocity to get spouses into the workforce? What are the challenges that military families are facing? And then how legislatively can we address those? So we're working efforts on a statewide basis. And then on top of that, we have 4 individuals in our community that actually serve as Air Force Global Strike Command civic leaders. It is Randy Burkhardt, Bruce Christensen, Pete Hankla, and myself. And we have Mark Janser, who serves as an emeritus member. He's been on that for a number of years and now is emeritus. And then Mark has also served as the Secretary of the Air Force Chiefs Civic Leaders Group. So we are very strategically placed with civic leaders. What's very unique about Task Force 21 is there's 10 individuals that serve. There's really only 3 if you count my positions that rotate through. The mayor of Minot serves on that.
Okay.
No matter who the mayor is.
Right.
Our key lead individual from our community serves. And then our board chair, the year that their chair serves on Task Force 21. That was actually my entrance into Task Force 21.
Yeah.
So when I served as the board chair of the Chamber of Commerce, that's how I got involved. And frankly, it just was something that stuck. I grew up in Minot and did not know the impact of Minot Air Force Base until serving in that role, and almost felt it was a duty to do my part to educate and advocate for the mission. If you look at what they do to protect us globally, it's pretty phenomenal, and I almost was embarrassed not knowing that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got involved. So I've been serving on task force for a number of years now, over a dozen years or more.
Just what you were talking about of how easy it would be to lose the Air Force Base. I think that's something that's taken for granted. Just like the farmers, they're not going anywhere, right? And the Air Force Base isn't going anywhere either. Well, farmers, they ain't moving their land. They need that land. But the Air Force Base has 50 states to choose from, and maybe a few other options as well, as far as where they could position. So even just hearing that part, let alone the actual missions that you're talking about that are very important to them, that's interesting. Something that Minot shouldn't take for granted.
I think we always have to make sure that we're protecting the industries and everything around us that matters, whether it be energy, ag, healthcare, military. All those things are important to really a vibrant community that we have.
Yeah.
And we do these things, even if I look at now the role I have within the Chamber EDC, we do these things really just to make sure that those key industries stay here, that we become a thriving community. And what's really cool about the Chamber EDC is we don't do it without our volunteers. Task Force 21 is all volunteers.
That's crazy.
And if you think it's glorious to fly out to DC and back, do that trip every time that it's needed on a 24-hour basis. Fly in and on an early flight and fly right back within 24 hours.
Wow.
We're taking people that have day jobs, that are very busy in their day jobs, that are willing to commit to the mission. And frankly, it's a long-term play. You don't just step on task force like you do maybe one of our committees and say, I want to try this, and then I step down. Those relationships are built long-term.
Makes sense.
For example, General Tony Cotton, who serves as the U.S. Strategic Command commander at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, he was a young missileer here.
Wow.
We've known him since his time here in Minot, and we've followed him throughout his career. It takes building those relationships to really be able to have thoughtful conversations, understand the mission as deeply as the task force members do, and then be able to educate and advocate at a level that really I feel is at the top notch of other communities. We're proud right now to have the Barksdale Trophy here.
Right.
We've been recognized twice. It's gone back between Dyess Air Force Base and Minot Air Force Base, back and forth. We can't win it consecutively, so we for some reason our friends in Texas and North Dakota compete every other year.
That's neat.
But it recognizes the community that best serves the Air Force Global Strike Command base, which says a lot about Minot as a whole.
Does.
It's not just a Chamber EDC effort. It is frankly how the community steps up to support military, teachers, nurses, whatever it may be. Minot is just a real special place.
Right. You mentioned it's a lot volunteer ran. Task Force 21 specifically is completely volunteer. How many employees does the Chamber EDC have?
We have 8. We also are very unique. We have motor vehicle. So the title work is done by a team over at Arrowhead. So all the title work, if you do your title work for vehicles, renewals, all that, there's a revenue stream that comes to the Chamber EDC. It's an old model.
Yeah,
there's only a few chambers still doing it, but we have a contract with the Department of Transportation to provide that service for our community.
It came up on a city council earlier this year, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. That seems random, honestly, but that's neat. But 8 people, and it feels like you could just use all 8 people right there in what we have talked about. We've only talked about one leg of 5 key legs of the Chamber EDC. Let's go to another leg. Let's talk about the community and the impact. And you guys have or you guys contribute to I believe, Wayfinder program. Am I using the right term? I may have just mixed up 2 things. Is it the Wayfinders?
Yeah, Wayfinders is ours.
Okay, great.
Actually, we piloted that.
Right. I was thinking of the wayfinding signs, and we've talked about those, which are not your guys'. I was like, wait a minute. I hope I did not just confuse the 2.
No,
so that was my
it's funny that they were
stop.
That.
Yeah,
we piloted a workforce development program. So the state of North Dakota obviously has had a lot of, it doesn't matter, leadership at all levels talks about the challenges we have in workforce. We are not going to solve workforce within our state. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the population. So and there's not a cookie cutter solution to workforce.
Right.
There's not a playbook that says, here's how you solve workforce, go do it.
Yeah.
And so when I started, the city of Minot had added additional dollars to our contract because somebody needed to really own workforce for the Minot area and start to work that. And so after some allocation of funds from the city of Minot, we ended up hiring a workforce development specialist, added that to our team, and actually it was a hybrid position because we knew we needed some help with the military support because of increased activity there, and so it's a workforce development specialist and military liaison.
Wow.
At some point we might divide those are
that's a lot
by one person. We try to have one person own each pillar. A couple of our team members own a couple, so as we continue to grow and support the community, we'll look at that. But going back to Wayfinders, where that came from is the state of North Dakota Department of Commerce had a marketing plan. They've had this program called Find the Good Life, which is an talent attraction. It's really a marketing program to bring people into the state. It has had different iterations over the years. I started in May of 22. June of 22 is when the state rolled out their Find the Good Life 2.0 or refresh, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
From there, we couple of our team members, some community champions, stepped in and said, we'll be community champions. We'll be that first friend. If Minot's a place you want to look at, we'll be the people to welcome them and help them. Actually, the very first individual to move through the pipeline moved to Minot.
Wow.
Had never been here. Travis works at Pro IT still to this day. He was the very first one, and you can track his movements. He was looking to move out of another state and had never been to North Dakota, started looking in the Midwest, found some of our stance on certain social issues aligned with his. He really felt the state was welcoming, and then started to get served ads. Then all of a sudden, two individuals, Mark Lyman and myself from Minot, North Dakota, reached out to him and said, hey, if you need anything, we're here. Here's our contact information. Let us know. He made the move and was the first person who moved to North Dakota. Now, I know that's one success story, but in that process, we got connected with the talent attraction agency that the Department of Commerce was working with. We clicked with them. We brought them to Minot. I still think Minot's their favorite city in the state. I will argue that with anyone. They came here and they're like, you have baby tigers. What is this children's museum? Oh my gosh, you have a base? Like, what do they do here? They walked away just so pumped about the community.
That's neat.
That we really kept in close contact with them, and we started to talk about the state's investing these dollars to attract people to North Dakota. How do we pivot that and get the funnel even further and really say that Minot is a place that wants people to come here? We have opportunities. We have a young, vibrant community. How do we bring them here? So we actually brainstormed and piloted. We were the first community to pilot what we called Wayfinders. This is well before signs in the community.
Yep, right.
But we piloted with them. So we worked with them to develop a website that really took some of the similar things the state was doing, brought it down to a local level. And again, you'll hear me say it, we don't function without our volunteers. We found community champions, those that care about environmental issues, those that are into outdoors and recreation, those that have families, those that are retired, whatever that looked like. We brought a number of people in community champions. So if you go to magicandminot.com, you'll see our Wayfinders program.
Right.
And really what it is, it's an opportunity if you're going to move here, if you consider moving here, if you just want that first friend that's like, where do I get my oil change? Where do I go and work out? What do I do here? We have a group of people that are willing to connect with those that are interested or coming to our community. So we piloted that. And from Wayfinders, what's cool is the state had a grant program. So now we're actually marketing. We're under Commerce is doing their marketing, and we're coming right in under, not just North Dakota, but come to Minot.
Okay.
So we just launched that, and we'll see what happens. But we have had individuals move here through our efforts. And frankly, again, it's the volunteers that are champions for the community that love to tell the story of how great Minot is. And they're the ones that are helping and welcome people into our community. So that's our Wayfinder program. It was an innovative thing that we tried, and we're going to continue to evolve that. I know even my next meeting today is to talk to one of our major employers in the healthcare sector and see how do we continue to help them attract healthcare workers and bring people in. How can we take that program and really build it out? So we're going to continue to evolve these type of efforts. But Wayfinders has been a fun, innovative idea that it's in its infancy, but we see as a lot of opportunities.
What was the first person's name? Was Travis?
That was through the state effort, through Find the Good Life.
Yeah, and I think what closed him was the Starving Rooster. I believe isn't that where you guys brought him to? I mean,
we did.
Starving Rooster is just fantastic.
We have a lot of great places in this community.
We
Absolutely.
Do. Yep. You have to be fair, and you have to be fair, nice to all the places because of your role. All right, so. Wayfinders, is that more of a community or is that more workforce? It feels like it's kind of hybrid.
It's a hybrid of both. I think we originally started it under the workforce arm. What we found is there's young airmen, there's military spouses, there's families moving here that want that connection with community members. Yeah. So if they're not one of the lead Minot Air Force Base commanders, they're, serving in another squadron or something, they still want that connection. So the program has expanded to it has a workforce feel. And I think that's really kind of the pillar I would put it under. But there certainly is a community resource. We've had a couple individuals that moved to Minot within the last year that used it just to be able to connect and say, I'm really interested in this. How do I get involved in the community? So again, it's that first friend kind of that we're providing to people. And
you're able to, like I'm on the website now, you're able to go to find somebody that feels like your interests would connect. And are you able to just reach out directly to them or does it go through through the chamber, you're able to submit a form, and does that go to the chamber or does it go to them directly?
So it goes through the chamber EDC. So what we'll
Makes
do
sense.
is if we have multiple coming in, we want to make sure that we don't burn out our volunteers.
Right.
So we know the kind of the capacity that each one has. So we filter it down, and we have the wayfinders you'll see have their own kind of categories.
Yeah.
There's an algorithm in the back end of the website, and then we pair them and we know which ones fit, and
Gotcha.
then we track to make sure we kind of equally spread that out.
That's great. So like you said, whether you're coming here for work or whether you just need a friend coming into the area, need a friend, it's a great resource.
Yep.
Very neat. Way cool. So I want to go and jump out of that for a moment. We'll go through the other 3 pillars that we still need to touch on. I guess we kind of touched on 2 of them right there, roundabout way. But one thing that's interesting, you mentioned the grant and the chamber. This isn't something where you have a lot of revenue streams coming in. This is something where part of your job is finding grants, finding stuff like that. And I'm not interested in getting into other discussions that perhaps put pressure on, potentially put pressure on you guys. But how is that coming from a private sector where it's all about revenue? That's what it's about, to going into this other. How has that been, where you're managing grants or you're finding stuff like that? Do you guys have grant writers? Do you have people that are just, that's their role to find that, or you always having to keep your ear to the floor? How's that work?
So that's a good question. We have a number of different revenue streams, and we've really shifted, I would say, in the last 2.5 years. I don't know how many grants were sought after before. We really focused in on the more dollars we can bring in with the resources available, the more we can do for the community.
Right.
So, there's the chamber model had really 2 ways of bringing in revenue. One was through motor vehicle.
Yeah.
That's changed, though, because if you send in and do your renewals online, or if you send them in the mail, that revenue stream doesn't come to us. That goes to the state of North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
And so that's pivoted. It used to be a big part of the funding source for the chamber due to technology. That has changed. It's still a great partnership, and we're supporting local employers, and we're providing a service that if you need to walk in and do that title work, you can do it here. So we're not going to get rid of that today, but the chamber model was members that paid their annual dues, and motor vehicle was the additional dollars. There were some dollars that came from the city of Minot to support Task Force 21, the military efforts. Very small investment for the return on investment. Mm-hmm. And then from the economic development standpoint, that contract has been a contract with the city of Minot through the sales tax. A portion of the sales tax within the city of Minot is dedicated to economic development, and we get a small portion of it. Mm-hmm. And so that helps to fund economic development, workforce development, and then the city funds also support Task Force 21. What we've done is really expand that out to take a look at where else are there opportunities. So we have actually started to pursue different grants that align with our organization. Regional Workforce Impact Program grants that were offered through the state. We went for that because we felt that would give us marketing dollars. Without those dollars, we couldn't be marketing the community at the level we are.
Right.
And so those grant dollars are being used this biennium to market the community and attract people into our area. And we're really focused on 4 areas. It's boomerangs, young families, veterans, and recent graduates of Minot State.
Okay.
And so those are our 4 targeted areas. Those grant dollars we've also received dollars. The state of North Dakota is the North Dakota Military Commission, legislators and state leadership, frankly, across the board, is really leaning in to make North Dakota the most military-friendly state. And so with that, the communities of Grand Forks, Minot, and Fargo receive some dollars from the state legislature. Our dollars in Minot are different than Fargo and Grand Forks's. We all have unique needs, and we worked as a coalition and a team really together to receive some state funds to help support efforts. Fargo is going to be competing with Minnesota for recruitment of National Guard members. Right. Grand Forks has a different set of some planning dollars that they needed support and some consultants that they use. And then really Minot, our focus was preparing the state of North Dakota for Sentinel, the largest modernization project that has ever been undertaken. There's a lot of questions with that project, and we really felt that we needed some support to be able to get to the places we need to, build up the relationships, build a deeper bench of individuals that are helping us prepare for this major project.
Right, yes.
So grants, member investor dues are big, and we shifted our tiers too. I'll share that. When I started, I really took a look at the economic development model was invest in economic development, and businesses would donate funds as investors. The chamber model was based on your FTEs. How many people do you have working for you? That's the level you should pay into a chamber. When I started, we looked at it and said, here's the thing. We want businesses to support us at whatever level they are able to.
Yeah.
If it's $500, we're happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's $10,000, we're happy with that.
Right.
We really are not asking you to give us your FTEs or base it on that. We want the individuals and businesses that invest in us to do it at the highest level that they are able to.
Mm-hmm.
So we have startup businesses that are member investors to
right.
major entities that are at our cornerstone level at $10,000 every year. And that shift has really helped us generate more dollars to do what we do. And then it's all those other funding sources too. And we're going to continue to bring in additional dollars. And then on the economic development side, that's a whole nother discussion. But there's some opportunities there because we're unique that we actually own the logistics park in North Dakota and an intermodal site.
Wow. Yeah. So the member services, it seems like over the past few years, and I don't know how far it goes back, but I'm going to assume it's more recent than 2022. Your guys' focus on your member services has changed. It seems like there's been a lot more promotion that has been done for people that are joining on social media and other things like that. There's a lot of more previous. How it was done was great for that time. There was a change. We understand that change. And so it's a lot more social based, a lot more things like that going on. What are some of the benefits for a business to join the Chamber EDC?
Well, I think you have to almost reverse that. The benefits are outlined. You can go to the member investor, levels and see what that is. I really, versus answering that question with a blanket, kind of elevator speech, we actually in return say, what can I do? Like, how can we help you? So, for example, we've had young entrepreneurs go through our Startup Minot program and then realize that we will help to promote them. Really, our role is to obviously support the business community within the whole Minot area, not just Minot proper, but the whole Minot area, which includes all of our friends and communities surrounding us. They're really a huge part of our community. And so we always make sure to say the Minot area. Yeah. But as far as with that, we work hard to be a fit for everyone. Some businesses join because they want their employers to be involved with the community. They want them volunteering, whether it be an ambassador or sitting on one of our committees, teaching junior achievement to students. They want that involvement. So that may be why some people join. Others join because they want access to leadership programs. They want to be a part of our CLI program, our Community Leadership Institute, which fills up every year. We only offer it once a year. It's a behind-the-scenes look at our community for 10 weeks, 1 day a week, not all 10 weeks straight. But we take a deep dive. We get them behind the scenes within the city. We get them behind the scenes at Minot Air Force Base. That might be why they're members, is to really understand the workings of the community. Others, I've had businesses say, I want to support you. You do great work. We know you'll promote us, but do not sign me up for anything and don't ask me to volunteer. And we're okay with that. Right, yeah. I think it really depends on the business. And so there's the benefits. I think the one thing that we provide is access. We advocate. We're we're a catalyst for moving initiatives forward. We collaborate with our partners. We do all this with integrity, but we listen to the community and then say, okay, what's the role we have to play? And you'll see us, we're constantly changing in that space. This year, we're doing a lot of education efforts. Just tied to, we don't endorse candidates. We don't do that. But ahead of the primary, there were contested races in the primary this year where we thought, let's hold forums where we can talk to the candidates, get the information out to everybody so everyone can make an informed decision. We want to be that entity that helps to share information. There's people that care about policy, some that don't. So we have to really be cognizant of what our member investors and the community needs and then fill those roles. That's why we say, like, why you join might be different than why somebody else joins. And we try to listen to that. And then we ask them to invest in us at whatever level they're able to, and then we will do our part to help support them. And I will say we only recommend member investor businesses, and we get a lot of phone calls. I don't know if there's a thing, I learned this early on, that the chamber gets a lot of phone calls, and it really covers the gamut. And at the end of the day, though, I think that people coming into the community, and from what I've seen, the Chamber EDC really tends to still be that resource for, I'm coming into town, we're coming in for this, where do we go? Or there's major industry coming here. We just had a business move here because they're supporting the Sentinel project, and they want the connections. They want to know what's happening in industry, but they also need to know when we have employers or workforce coming in, where can we go? What hotels can we stay in? Where would you recommend that we bring our corporate leadership team? So we tend to be that liaison. Our partners do too. Whether it be the parks or Visit Minot or, a city official, they all play that role. But I think we get quite a few calls that you'd be surprised at being that liaison of information.
In a perfect world, it seems like some of that is the role of Visit Minot. Just based, the motels, stuff like that. It seems like that's more of their purpose. And it's interesting how it all funnels through or partially funnels through the chamber.
Yeah, I think we all have our roles. Some, like I said, some entities come to a chamber. If you're hosting a whole bunch of corporate execs and you know that we're really tied in and supporting your industry, they might come to us to say, what's the best way to showcase this? And again, that's why we work really hard, whether it be Ellie at the Park District, Stephanie at Visit Minot. They are our strategic partners, and we work very closely with them. They probably get calls and they send them our way, and we do the same thing. And I think that what's been really fun about some of the leadership shifts that you've seen in the community, we all work well together. There aren't silos where we're competing with each other or, well, we do this and you do this and we're not going to cross over. There's so many times that we bring in those partners to have the thoughtful conversations and make sure we're all moving in the same direction.
It's very good. One thing that you mentioned is that the Minot Area Chamber EDC provides access. And so I think sometimes there can be a perception that it's hard to get involved. It's probably an incorrect perception. It's just one that's easy to garner. How hard is it if you want to serve on the ag committee or the energy infrastructure committee? There's a monthly meeting, or some of them it's not monthly, it's whatever schedule it's on. How hard is it to get involved in those things?
It's so easy. Call our office or email us. You can talk to any one of our team members, and there are tons of opportunities. If someone says it's hard to get involved, have them call us.
Have them call.
What's cool about our committees, there's only one that has a fee. It's the Military Affairs Committee, and that is just because there's some operational things tied into that that we have to cover, and otherwise it's $150 a year. You have to be able to get cleared for a base pass. It's a little different process, but every other committee, if you pick up the phone and call Carla, Carla Dolan, who runs our member services kind of side of things, she's our vice president, has over 20 years of experience and is phenomenal. If you call her and say, I want to be involved, we can take you to every committee meeting if you want to check them out.
Wow.
And we've done that. We've had individuals say, hey, I don't know where I want to be involved, but I want to be involved.
Right.
We're like, well, are you involved with education? Because if so, go teach a junior achievement class. Because I will tell you, one of the coolest things to do, if you haven't done it, you should do it. You'd love the kids. You come in, because this doesn't happen in normal meetings. You come in and everyone's like, oh, Mrs. Kramer's back, and they get all excited. Depending on
actually get excited,
and then you get hugs when you leave. I'm glad that doesn't happen in meetings.
Right.
But like those kind of programs where you can give an hour of your time to teach students about business.
That's neat.
In a cool, fun way where it's all handed to you. My whole family's full of teachers. I'm the oddball that went into business. And you get this opportunity to get in front of kiddos and talk about the community and things that matter. We've taught kids about zoning, and they're like, what? Needs and wants, depending, at the younger ages. But we have a program for that where you can go and volunteer your time and get in front of kiddos. If you want to sit in on committees and be in the know, like for example, one of the committees I've been involved with for probably the longest is our infrastructure committee. We meet the second Friday of every month at 7:30 at Homesteaders, so you get a great breakfast along with it. Dean and the team are phenomenal there. And you get updates from the City of Minot, the Park District, the Department of Transportation, the schools. You have a presenter every month that comes in and talks about something infrastructure related. It might be a major project. It might be some operational things that the organization's working on, what's coming up in major construction, legislative policy. Infrastructure tends to be one that'll come to us and say, hey, It's important that we 4-lane the road between Minot and Velva. Can you help advocate for that?
Wow.
And we'll do it. And so there's thoughtful conversations. It's a smaller group, but it's a very diverse group that care about the infrastructure that makes our community run. If you're involved with agribusiness and that's your home, that committee meets and puts on a major event every other year called Dinner on the Prairie, where we bring people out into a field and we expose energy, military, teachers, healthcare into the agriculture side that don't know anything about it. And it's one of the most phenomenal events that we do. It's a major lift, so we only do it every other year.
Right.
But that is put on by volunteers, producers, ranchers, and farmers. And that committee works on that event, but they also help support the kiddos at the North Dakota State Fair. And then really works hard to talk about the latest in agriculture. So depending on what you want to be involved with, if you want to be the redcoat that cuts every ribbon and sees every new business, you can be a part of that. Now, that one has a waiting list, but that is a fun way. That was the first committee I ever volunteered for at the chamber, was as a chamber ambassador.
Yeah.
They end up being our extension to welcome business, welcome them to the community, cut the ribbons, say their great things. It's chaired by somebody new every year. But again, depending on what you want to be involved with, I guarantee you we have a committee, a volunteer opportunity. It could be our Project Clean in the spring, where you just get a group of people or yourself and we give you all the tools to go help clean up the community. There's something for everybody. It's not hard to be involved.
That's awesome.
I think the only ones that there's really a process would be something like Task Force 21, where it's a long-term commitment. If you're on that, you're in it for a long time.
Wow.
That's needed to build those relationships. Every other committee is pretty open to jump in on, and we encourage, you don't have to sign up and be at it every month.
Gotcha.
But if you want to check it out, you certainly can.
Right. There you go. It doesn't take much work. And so what you're saying is, if somebody they're not sure where they want to, it's not where they have to get nominated and there's this whole process. It's just something, call them up and you can be the bug on the wall and see what that committee is like and see if it's something you actually want to join.
And we're more than willing to meet you at the door, walk you in so you're not walking into a meeting, because some of our committees, individuals have been a part of them for 10 years or more. They love the committee. It's their opportunity. They found their niche, and they may sit in the same spot. So we'll make sure you don't sit in somebody's spot.
That's good.
But the committees are very welcoming, and each of them serves their own unique niche. Our energy committee, infrastructure, governmental affairs is going to be important as we go through the legislative session. We'll have legislative forums on the weekends when legislators come back. But also every month, our governmental affairs chair brings in different topics that matter. Obviously, we'll be educating on property taxes. What does that measure? An
exciting one.
We'll be talking about those things in the upcoming month. I think we have a program in September where Senate Majority Leader Senator Hogue is going to give just a 101 on what that means to the state. And that's our role, is to bring information into the community so people can make their own informed decisions.
So you mentioned advocacy, 4-lane highway or 4-lane road between Minot and Velva. How do you guys choose things that you end up advocating for?
So there's a couple of different ways. We set some general business policies. So we work with strategic partners. We're through the legislative process. We're very involved with the Economic Development Association of North Dakota. I serve on that board of directors. I actually used to serve. They don't have chamber execs serve on this Greater North Dakota Chamber, but I was a board member for a number of years when I was in the private sector. So GNDC does a lot of work for setting business policies for infrastructure, workforce, the business climate, and really kind of works a year ahead of the session to set those policies and what the policy positions are. So those general policy positions, we tend to follow those. We'll review them as a board and make sure that they're aligned with what makes sense for the business community. We listen to our member investors and understand the area. And then we really kind of use that as our sounding board. Do we get behind this bill? How often do we testify? What are the things that matter to Minot? We'll hold some roundtables with legislators ahead of the session. What are their priorities? What are our key strategic partners' priorities? And how can we help the education process? We'll do that. And then, like, for example, throughout the session, every week we meet with EDND, GNDC. Every Friday we're hammering out and saying, okay, where are these organizations weighing in? Where do we need to lean in further? And then throughout the session, we host legislative forums where the Saturday legislators are back in town. we host a forum, and every community member can show up for that, ask questions of legislators, and they will go through bills and talk about what's happening. So again, our process in that is very thoughtful, but what guides we don't weigh in on everything.
Right.
We're very strategic. We want to do the things that matter to the community, that align with building up a great community, support a strong business climate, and those are the kind of things that we jump into.
Makes sense. Yeah, the legislative forum or whatever it's called, when the legislators are back in town, that's something really big for the viewers to engage with. If you want to know what's going on during the legislative session, make sure you show up to those, ask questions, be involved. You mentioned the GNDC, Greater North Dakota Chamber, which is something that you guys are involved in, but I also want to talk about other things that you're involved in as we come to the waning moments of this wonderful interview. There's something more recent, was the East-West partnership that you guys did with Fargo. Why is this important for the Minot as a community?
So I think there's been a long history from what I've seen. There's always been this East-West divide.
Oh yeah.
It's been called that. It says what it is. Ahead of the last legislative session, we took some of our legislators, our board of directors, and really took a look at Fargo's a big community.
Right.
We have a lot of Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo area has a lot of business leaders. And what we found is we're really close with our friends in the western part of the state. Because Grand Forks has an Air Force base, we work closely with them. And we're in Bismarck a lot because that's the state capital.
Right.
We don't travel to Fargo as much. And so we looked at it and said, there's really kind of three key things we're aligned with that matter, are high priorities for you and matter to us. Let's talk ahead of the session so you understand why these are important to us, and we'll listen to you and do the same.
Yeah.
We also we took a delegation, we all drove our cars, got to Fargo, and what we did is we spent time with legislators there. The three things we talked about ahead of last session was workforce, impacts us all.
Yep.
Flood protection, it's key to our area, and
right.
It's key to them. And then we talked about military. We knew that they have more of a guard focus, but they had their challenges, and we had the Minot Air Force Base with
right.
a guard component.
Yep.
And so we aligned on those three topics, and we had some great conversations. What happened from that, though, we realized that having advocates to understand what our area needs for Minot, to have Senator from Fargo talking about, well, this matters to Minot too, and here's why,
right.
that goes a long way. And so we learned that building up that East-West relationship, and it's not just with Fargo, it's with all the communities, but we tend to really kind of lean in there. So because we went there ahead of the last session, they said, well, we want to come here.
Wow.
A number of them showed up for the Nuclear Triad Symposium, but we had almost 40 individuals here this past month from all different businesses that came in to understand more of what is Minot Air Force Base and what is that mission, why does that matter?
Right.
It's over half of North Dakota's military economic impact is $1.2 billion. Wow. Minot is over $600 million of that.
Wow.
We're huge when it comes to what that means for the state, and it was great to get business leaders onto Minot Air Force Base for a combined mission brief and a brief tour to understand that mission better. We also took them we need to start to kind of pivot on the economic development side and have others understand that we have the logistics park of North Dakota. The Minot Area Chamber EDC owns 800 acres. AGT Foods is our anchor tenant for development of future growth of major sectors in our area. We also own the intermodal site, which is 20 years of trying to figure that out. And we got an operator, we have it operational, and it's doing great things for our state. Now we have to pivot from fixing the solutions and making that work to educating people on what this is.
Right.
So when they were here, we spent time at the logistics park. We had our operator actually flew in for that engagement on their dime, not ours. We're always fiscally responsible. But they came in knowing it's important to build out the base of people that understand it. There's probably opportunities in our own community for people to understand us more.
Oh, yeah.
But we found that the more we invite people to Minot, get them here, they're impressed with everything our community is. You get them on top of the Magic City Discovery Center and get community leaders together. It's a phenomenal view. And it's like, yes, this is in Minot.
Right.
We have amazing assets when we come together and get stuff done.
Right.
So it was those engagements take a lot of logistics and time to plan, but they're so strategically important because everything we do is based on relationships.
Yeah.
We have to build those. We have to get people to advocate. And the more we can work together, it's a win-win for everyone.
It seems to be part of some of the exposure that you tried to get for the city of Minot in some of the areas that you've gone to, like the North Dakota Main Street Summit that happened in Watford City earlier this year. I think a couple people won some awards.
Minot Area Chamber EDC was the only community to there was 9 awards given out, and we received 2 of them. One was for workforce development in an urban community for our Wayfinders program, and the other was kind of innovative infrastructure and those solutions to support the community, and that was for our intermodal site.
And that's not the only time that Minot has won some awards with some of the work that you guys have been doing. It seems like you guys are making a big impact there, getting that exposure. Yeah. And we'll see if you just follow the Chamber EDC page. I'm sorry, I'm doing my best. It's the Minot Area Chamber EDC. Get it right, people. Starting with Jonathan.
Hey, I didn't school you on air. I just mentioned it to you ahead of time, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's all good. But if you follow that page, you never know where we'll find you guys at. It's like, where's Waldo? One day you guys are in Seattle, going in, developing relationship with
strategic partner of ours.
Right? And it's important. It's important stuff. I'm not saying that you guys are traveling or whatever all the time. It's important stuff that's going on. But it's amazing to see how far the reach and the impact goes beyond just that office over there on whatever street it is across from Tires Plus, Trusted Tire. It's incredible to see that.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at those partnerships, again, I said it's all about relationships. But for example, when you talk about Seattle, the aid commissioner, myself, and the operator of our intermodal site were invited by the Northwest Seaport Alliance. It's the ports of Tacoma and Seattle, the commissioners that oversee that strategic port that provides access to global markets.
Right.
Minot's inland port, our intermodal site, is now one of their featured pilot programs of this is how you do an inland port.
Wow.
Logistically, Minot is in the middle of North America. We do not have access to ports right around our backyard. We have to be strategic. So what's cool when we figured out intermodal, for example, we built a relationship not only with BNSF. We have the only BNSF site certified location in the state is in Minot.
Wow.
That's at 800 acres that we own. Mm-hmm. And the intermodal site was a huge partnership. It took everyone coming to the table. But what's cool is Minot has on-dock service. Because we've been there, we've built a relationship and worked with them. And what's fun to see is when you see Seattle and Tacoma featuring Minot as this is how you move commodities out of a landlocked location, and this is why it works. And what's happened is it's provided more value to our producers. There's opportunities for additional growth. And again, it's based on those relationships. So we do work hard, and you never know where you're going to find us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started the podcast, and I painted it on fair picture when I mentioned that some people have the perception of the smoke-filled rooms, and that's what the Chamber EDC is. So as we end, what should Minot's perception be of the Minot Area Chamber EDC? I think we've gained a huge understanding as we've watched this, but leave something on people's minds.
Oh, that's such a good question. I hope people know that we are here to serve the community. First and foremost, we're here to listen. What are the concerns? What are the business needs? How can we step in and help? We're problem solvers. It doesn't matter if it's military, economic development, community development, workforce, or just supporting our member investors. We are here to serve. We really want to, if you look at our vision, we talk about being that go-to organizations to help build economic prosperity for our area. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we're here to do.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to quantify, like, what is economic development? It's kind of a joke in economic development world. Like, what do you actually do?
Right.
We're solving long-term problems or challenges that we see not only within Minot but the state, and sometimes that stuff just takes time. So we're not going to tell you every meeting that we're at, but I'm going to tell you we're making major progress in macroeconomic, not the micro things that you see, those little things. We're proud of those efforts too.
Right.
But when we're looking at it, we worked on major logistics solutions, which we're going to continue to invest in and do. We're looking at and working on natural gas solutions with a number of state leaders, and I'm trying to innovate and try to help solve the challenges within the Bakken, but also one of our biggest barriers to economic growth is access to natural gas.
Okay.
So I think if I were to leave it with one kind of key thing, we're here to serve the community. If you want to get involved, if you have things you want to bring forward, really our role is to serve the business community in the Minot area, not just Minot. We've been very conscientious about that because it takes all of our partners here. And how do we build up a better community? We want to be that community champion. We want to be able to provide you access to, what is it that you need to know? How do we get that to you? And how do we help?
Very good. Appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
For sure. This has been an episode here at Minot Matters, brought to you by Shock, Safe, and Lock and part of the Dakotan. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, like and subscribe on YouTube. Become part of the Dakotan community. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great day.